Good morning and welcome to the new episode of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Imagine that you are in a state of perpetual animosity, not friendly relations. Either they are frosty and there is an undercurrent of hostility all the time. Would you help that person grow economically? No. And yet that's what India is doing. Since the Galwan clash last year, in which 20 Indian soldiers were killed, I was amazed to look at the official data. I don't go by the unsubstantiated data, but what the government itself released, and that gave me a shock. As a matter of fact, there should have been a freeze on the trade ties with China. It wasn't done. Effort was made and steps were made, but then, would you believe if I was to tell you that after USA, China is India's second biggest trading partner? Second biggest. And then the trade is such where the balance of payments and balance of the trade are highly tilted in favor of China and against India. In 2021-22, last year 21-22, China-India's bilateral trade stood at 115.83 billion. 115.83, almost 116 billion, and out of which 11.19% was India's total merchandise trade of 1,035 billion. The US was just about 1,119.48 billion. So 115 and 119. 20 years ago, jump back. China figured at the 10th position. However, from 2002 to 2003, it started an upward trend and became India's top trading partner. And it has been there since 2011-12. Isn't that a shock? And what do we import? Consumer goods, artificial lights, lighting strings, the pictures of the religious leaders, the lights which are to be kindled, the diya lamps at the time of Diwali. And then look at the difference between USA and China as trading partners of India. China and USA, as I said, are the top trading partners, but there's a big difference. With USA, when India trades, it has a surplus of 32.85 billion. With China, it has a deficit of 73.31 billion. And that is highest for any country. Look at any statistics. A trade deficit of 73.31 billion in 1 year. China is richer by 73.31 billion every year, and loss every year is that of India. Prime Minister Modi has done a great job. But how come he has faltered here? Is it the fault of the Commerce Minister? Is it the fault of the Finance Minister? Or it is solely the fault of the trading community? All are at guilty. As a matter of fact, the trading community, the business people, should have stopped trading with China at all. Consumers as well. They should have stopped buying Chinese goods. But no, they are cheap, so they buy them. Trading community imports because they are cheap and the profit margins are high. So to hell with the country, as long as we earn filthy lucre. and then compare with the last year. The last year it was 44.02 billion, all-time high. But in 1 year, the negative payment jumped 100%. It doubled in 1 year. And if this trend continues, next year might be 150 billion. Year after that might be 200 billion. And then India is in a bad shape. China can tighten the screw any time. If you develop those things or manufacture those things yourself, you don't have to pay to the China and make it strong economically. You provide employment to the unemployed billions. So they are double benefit. But no, the government in its wisdom chose not to freeze the trade with China, an act of lunacy. The trading partners continued trading, an act of absolute greed and anti-national activity, as a matter of fact, and so did the consumers. Now, what has been the trend in India's trade deficit with China? Let's look at a trend. India's trade deficit has increased from 1 billion to, as I said, 73 billion in 21 years. So there has been a steady increase. So China is gaining both ways. It's cutting India's territory. It's making India spend furiously on the defense needs. And it's taking the money from India. What a win-win situation for China. From 1 billion to 73 billion in 21 years. This trade deficit, who's responsible? Has the Prime Minister sacked the Finance Minister and the Commerce Minister? Or they continue making such stupid statements which have no bearing on the country? Yes, India is going to be the third largest economy, but because of its trade deficit, it can never beat China. Now look at what India imports from China and what India exports to China. Imports. During the year 21-22, 15.4%, money value 94.57 billion, almost 95 billion, of India's total import came from China. Total import in the whole year from the globe was $600 billion. Out of that, almost 100 billion was from China. Look at the item-wise. And that would show that we are absolutely gone bonkers. The maximum, most valued items are laptops, followed by integrated ICs, digital, lithium, oil, iron, solar cells, and urea. I'm amazed that we say we are soft power, and for hard power we depend on a country which is inimical to us, and we pay for that. And from USA, what do we import? Petroleum crude, cooking coal, LNG, liquefied natural gas, diamonds, almonds, turbojets. Either high food, high value, or high technology, or those things which are required for our growth. From China, as I said, consumer goods and laptops. And what do we export? In 2021, India's export to China stood at 21 billion. Import 95 billion, export 21 billion. And the total exports from India were 422 billion. So we exported only 5% of our total exports went to China. So China is not making India rich. India is making China rich. And what did China bought from India? Ores. Am I right? Yes. Ores are mined, freshly mined. So there's zero value addition. Why not convert them into semi-finished goods, if not the finished goods, and then export them? The value addition can be anywhere from 30% to 70%. And we have the capability. We have the skills to do it, but no, we must export the ores. This is exactly what the British imperialists were doing to India. And now, Indians are doing it to themselves. And among the top commodities China bought from India include ores, slag, followed by organic chemicals, minerals, iron and steel. So except from iron and steel, all are losing propositions. USA, what did it import? Diamond. Diamonds, gold jewelry, gold jewelry, shrimp, turbojets. So we import turbojets and we export turbojets. But we don't sell them ores. We don't sell them zero value addition products. So that being the case, isn't it shocking that we continue to export marginally just 5% and import $95 billion in 1 year, increase from $1 billion per year loss to 95 billion, 94.8 billion. Imagination staggers. And we are doing it to a country which is not our friend. There was a time when we used to say, Hindi Chini bhai bhai, Indians and Chinese are brothers. But then we changed it to bye bye, goodbye. We don't want it. The policies that were stupid in 1962 have become stupider with the passage of time, and even under the ultra-nationalist government that is today. As I said, Prime Minister Modi's government is doing excellently well in a number of activities. But this is one where there is need not only overhaul, but to have not to have a fresh look, but to have a total ban on the products of export and import. After all, if we export just 5%, if we don't export it, heavens won't fall. But when we stop imports, we'll be A, saving $100 billion a year, which will go up next year again, double up possibly. Give employment over people for manufacturing those products, and then possibly export these goods at a cheaper rate to the other countries where China is exporting. Our economic policy should be, trade policy should be, that should be export oriented rather than import oriented in any way. But here, especially with a country with which we are not on friendly terms, what we are doing is almost criminal. And had it been some other country, I can tell you, nobody dares trade with Cuba in US. Nobody does. That's an enemy country. Would any Chinese do the trade with Taiwan? No. Japan? No. Japan is a very advanced country. But they don't buy from Japan. And from India they buy just 5%, and those things they buy, which are not with them, and which enable them to have value addition. So they're getting something at a very dirt rate, dirt cheap, giving it a shape, and then selling it that kilo. Exactly what the British colonials were doing. Here, we are choosing our colonial power by choice. There it was by compulsion, we were slaves. Here we are doing by choice. Shall I say shameful? Yes. Shall I say criminal? Yes. Shall I say anti-national? Yes. So I charge the Indian consumer with being anti-national and selfish. I charge the Indian businessman for being short-sighted, myopic, and even anti-national. And I charge mostly the government of India, especially the Minister of Commerce and Minister of Finance, for being foolhardy, unimaginative, blind to the interest of India, unfit to continue, and need absolute overhaul. But is somebody listening? You decide. Thank you.